All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last episode of our creative writing series. So, how you can write? So let's get our knowledge together and see if we can apply that. So, let's recap. We write stories for our ideal world, right? Some people are visionaries. They write those kinds of stories, and we also write stories of our own world right now. Um, and we also write and read to gain lessons. We journal to process that world. We learn from our world, set goals for ourselves. And the psychological benefits of writing include increased self-awareness, mental health, and better personal connections, if you remember from the engineer study. So how do we apply that? Well, let's first start with an exercise if you want. Get a place to write on, anything, notebook, piece of paper, and make sure you don't have any distractions. So what exercise I want you to do is this: what are you drinking? Or what did you drink last? Write down a short paragraph on what it tasted like. Even if it was just water, use inventive language to describe it. Did it taste of chemicals meant to sanitize, for example? Did it taste like an abominable child of the ocean and stagnant air? So here's 5 minutes for you to do that. Okay, so here we go. Here's our 5 minutes
right over. And let's see, what happened when you were writing? Did you taste that drink? As you were writing, did you taste the drink the way you imagined it? Maybe you imagined it a different way than what it actually was. And maybe that influenced your recall after you were starting to write. And speaking of starting to write, it happens differently for different people, obviously. There's going to be that guy who writes something on a piece of paper and calls it a day, and gets flashes of inspiration every hour, right? But that's not everybody. Some guys, some people, some gents have to walk for miles and miles before coming to an inspiration point. Some people have to, sit down and look at their paper for hours before realizing what it is that they want to write. And the most important part about that, though, is writing without distraction, because all of those can increase the time you have to write by a lot, right? You break your train of thought because the kettle started boiling and whistling. Being inspired, comes at a price that you have to not forget what inspired you, right? So everyday events might inspire you. Something funny, sad, or thought-provoking might do that. But if you've gone into college applications, college counselors are going to tell you that you want to create something evocative out of something mundane, and that, like picking up this book, you want to extrapolate something out of Tom Clancy in the back cover right here, and this just you can say, oh, hey, this guy is remembered over so long. He has gotten ghostwriters to write for him, and when I grow up, I want to be that kind of guy too. Maybe something like that. But inspiration happens multiple ways, and that is not only the one. So let's look at the process. Alice Hoffman says, I wrote to find beauty and purpose, to know that love is possible and lasting and real, to see daylilies in swimming pools, loyalty and devotion, even though my eyes were closed, and all that surrounded me was a darkened room. I wrote because I thought that was who I was at the core, and if I was too damaged to walk around the block, I was lucky all the same. Once I got to my desk, once I started writing, I still believed anything was possible. And the main takeaways from this is, you write to have once you get into the process of writing, you start springing forth ideas of the future, of what you want it to be, your ideals. And that's fun and dandy, but William Saroyan says something completely different. How do you write? You write, man, you write, that's how. And you do it the way the old English walnut tree puts forth leaf and fruit every year by the thousands. If you practice an art faithfully, it will make you wise, and most writers can use a little wising up. Now, this guy wisecracked in the last sentence. There's a lot of wising there. But what this guy is basically trying to say is that writing is an art that needs to be perfected. It's innate, yes, that everybody knows how to write, but to be truly a great writer, you have to go through a process many thousands of times, like the walnut tree. But neither definition is wrong, and neither definition is right, because obviously writing is different for everybody. The actual process, is rarely structured. Nobody can put a finger on it. But it starts and it ends like any process. So you think about what to write about first. And then you think about, what about that what? And then you so on and so on if you want to write something very, very deep. That's one part. You have to have something write about, otherwise you can't write something out of nothing. Once you do that, you have to set your ideas onto your paper, and that's different for many people, but I will try to give you as much as I can in the way of that and letting you feel writing out. But the end goal is the same, to invent something that makes you feel good about your subject. I'm not saying like, I want to change my mind about the political climate right now, so I'm going to write something contrarian to my beliefs, and hopefully that makes me feel good about the political climate. No, I mean, like, everybody who's writing or making something, they want to feel good about that product. They want to have that product be good. you know, even with people that are unsatisfied with the way things are going now, they want a better thing in the end. Perfectionists, even the most perfectionist of perfectionists, want to write something that, you know, finally satisfies their needs. And that is basically what people do. They satisfy one particular want through writing, and finish a particular goal through that. So process aside, some of us are getting into college applications. I am. Some who are not. You know, you may require writing in other aspects, such as your job or your, you know, even sending a text to somebody. It is important to hone these skills rather than to put it off for the future, because you're always going to need it. You know, if you put it off for the future, oh no, I can start getting to know to write sometimes else. You know, that's not going to work because you're always going to need to write. So the good thing about this is that we can do things over and over again, just like William Saroyan said. But scheduled writing doesn't mean I'm going to write about Aurora Borealis at this time of year, localized entirely within your kitchen, being very specific as to when to write, because that's just boring. That's just something that not many people would like. If you are that type of person that likes rigid schedules, then by all means go for it. But schedule writing, in my eyes, looks like just getting into the habit, getting into the mindset of writing every day. So how do you do that? Well, one way is journaling, and that's probably the most obvious way. But we can also comment on extraordinary things, or conversely, comment extraordinarily on ordinary things. So not every day that you go outside and see nature anymore. So you can write about that nature, right? If you do, however, there's not every day you relax and slump inside on the couch and watch Bourne Identity. But that, you know, that is not extraordinary as if you were in a car accident. That's extraordinary in the way that it's not ordinary, extraordinary, out of the ordinary. Or you can write about strange events that do happen. You know, you can write about that time you got into a car accident or the time that you won a medal, because those are noteworthy things. But if you do things every day, you might jot down some unusual descriptors for those things. Break out of the function-driven, function-locked perspective and think of new purposes for things you might do on the day-to-day. Like what does drinking coffee really mean to you? Is it a way to pick yourself up? Or is it something deeper than that? It's an attachment to caffeine? Anyway, that's the kind of habit that will work. So how do we incorporate exercise into that? So I want, one thing is writing in the shoes of another person. And this gets us to think out of the box and think out of our own perspectives and into another person. So let's take a banana. You're not going to write in the perspective of a banana. If personification is your thing, do it. But a good thing is, you know, how do you select a banana? Get into that lady debating over whether to buy one brand like Dole versus Chiquita or something like that, or inspecting the body of the fruit to make sure there's no like brown spots, or if she really likes ripe bananas, then there are brown spots. Go ahead and dive into that person and write their thought process. So another one is to take a piece of text and put your finger on a random sentence. So right here, I have Mr. Tom Clancy's book, Debt of Honor, and I'm going to pick a random sentence and finish the story. Not the way Tom Clancy wrote it, but the way I might think it goes. Well, okay, start from here. Well, I've ID'd her and I've got the building she lives in. Right now, I think the context is that they're trying to find some kind of criminal or somebody that is on the hiding, maybe a retired sleeper agent or something like that, because of Tom Clancy's just subject matter of spies and subterfuge. So we're going to go along that tangent. But you might think of a stalker or something like that. You might think of them trying to go down the street and finding a dog. So, well, I've ID'd the place and found where she lives. Good work, Thompson. Saved another day. Saved yourself to live another day. Tomorrow we'll send a pack down to track down that woman and bring her in for questioning. And this may give us another clue as to who the shadow organization is, or something like that. Close that text and finish the story, building on that sentence. I obviously did not do a very good job because I was on the fly, but you can really think about it. You can think about what the next part of that story is, because it rather than you consuming something, you have to synthesize based on the context, all the contextual clues that the sentence gives you. Or you can just simply write down what you're currently thinking. If it's a good day, if there's birds outside chirping, you can say, oh, look at those birds chirping. It might be a blue jay, it might be a sparrow, it might be a crow, who knows? But those are those birds chirping, and they represent some facet of my life, blah, blah, blah. But that you have to really care about all of this, what you're doing, if you want to be successful at it. So our goals is, increase self-awareness in a world that is too hurried to care. People might not think about themselves as often. People might be caught up in their work. People might be caught up into trying to present the best image of themselves, but don't look at themselves on the inside. And they don't care about themselves. And with that self-awareness, maybe you are able to stand out and succeed. Getting better at writing. Sure, getting better at writing is a good goal. Relaxation. Not only catharsis from talking about the word coworker that nagged you today, but maybe writing about the stream and the way the brook gurgles and rolls over the rocks in the stream bed. That maybe, that's also relaxing. It doesn't deal with any heavy subject matter. It just gives you in touch with nature. So I want to leave you off with this strange stock photo of a man waxing or scrubbing his car with a buff rag. And I want you to get into his head. Why is he looking at the camera in that way? Why is he, smiling in that way that might be unsettling to some, but maybe just because he's leaning over and the blood is rushing to his face, that's why he looks a little bit swollen. Be creative. Really, if you want to find another picture, go ahead, but maybe this one is so interesting that you won't need to look at it at all. So I just want to leave you with that and see what you come up with for yourself in the next however many years that you may find this useful to you. Thank you.